Hello, pineapplers, and welcome to Wine Wednesdays, which is actually this week on Friday. Okay, let me set this up, and I have some little flyaway wispies here going on. Hello, everyone. Wine Wednesday. Hi, Randy. Owning your identity for branding. All right, hi everyone. Hey Randy. Hi Izota. Okay, so I am currently in the Caboose Commons, which is the venue that I will be hosting the free Own Your Voice event happening tomorrow. If you are in the Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia area, we will be here. Let me just show you all around. It's actually really cute. Here's everybody eating lunch behind me, and my sister who's here. All right, so today we are going to be talking all about owning your identity for branding. Hi, Adrian. Okay, so before we dive into all of that, I just wanted to say, personal branding, if you are a personal brand, this is super important. If you don't have a personal brand, but more of a business brand, this is also extremely important. Mostly because when you build brands, they have a connection to you as the CEO, as the visionary, as the leader. And as you grow your team, then this also plays an important part in it, because your team needs something to actually follow to make sure that your brand is consistent and cohesive throughout all platforms, not even just online, but in a in-person oh my gosh, an in-person manera, which means an in-person way, or like an in-person type of feel. Okay, so what I actually learned during the retreat that I went to with my coach was that the more that you step into who you are as a human, who you are as an individual, the stronger your brand will be. Mostly because there are so many parts of us that we always feel ashamed about. You know, there are parts where we feel like, okay, I'm not good enough, or I'm not doing this enough, and that's not really the case, as I've learned. So I did a whole bunch of human design readings with Randy. Hey Randy, if you're still watching. She dove into my human design with me. I got a birth chart reading, so if you're into astrology. I talked to Shannon, who I can tag later on, who is a spiritual coach, and she actually read my birth chart, and a lot of things came up where it was like, okay, certain parts of me are weaker than others, or there are certain things that I specifically struggle with that other people are so amazing at. And this is kind of like a normal concept, right? Like, you just know, what you're good at, and you know that maybe you're not so good at other things, and other people are better at it than you, which is totally fine. What this means though, and I think as a personal brand or even like a business brand, this does not necessarily mean that something is wrong with you. I think it's just understanding and owning the fact that yes, you are better at other things, and then you are not so great at others, which means that you can actively work to change that. So now that I've spewed all of that, I just want to say, okay, when it's time to own your identity for branding, and a lot of people will talk about, your story, your identity, how that's part of your ego, and yeah, if we want to get into the woo-woo stuff, and I can talk about this all day, your identity is something that, may change and may shift over time. And if you talk to somebody who is an identity consultant, or somebody who talks about letting go of identity and identity in your ego, yes, identity is part of your ego, but I do believe that if we weren't to do the inner work to figure out who we are as people, as individuals, how we function in communities, how we function in society, then we really wouldn't be able to create a brand that actually connects with the right type of people, and also a brand that actually can serve others. Mostly because, yes, you do need a little bit of ego just to make sure that, things are working correctly. So I don't want to get into that, because that could be a whole different conversation. But if you have any comments, or you have any questions while I'm chatting, let me know down in the comments below. And also, if you have figured out your specific identity, or maybe like your personality traits or something, let me know down in the comments. Also, I forgot to ask this in the beginning. If you are tuning in live, please comment below your name, where you're watching from, and if you are drinking anything. I am not drinking wine. It is currently 1:35 p.m. in Northern Virginia, so I'm having a chai tea latte. And because I think this is a lot of caffeine for me, at the moment, I'm drinking water. Okay, double fisting here. Okay, so like I was saying about owning your identity for branding, I think it requires, Isoto says I'm drinking a beer. Oh my gosh, that sounds awesome. Adrienne is in Kabul and she's drinking coffee. Cool, cheers everyone. Okay, like I was saying before about owning your identity, I really feel like if you are able to own your identity, that means really sitting down and one, doing the inner work, and then two, figuring out what your strengths are, but not even just your strengths, because right, everybody wants to talk about like the good stuff that they have. Like for me, for example, I could say things like, I'm super organized, I'm super fierce, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And yeah, that's super important. But I also think that we need to really be aware and conscious of the things that we aren't good at, our weaknesses, our shadows, as human design experts would say. Like, these are the parts that like are the hidden secrets that we have, or you know, the things that we feel ashamed about, or the things we feel embarrassed about. I think when we own all of that and we're honest with ourselves with that, then that means that your brand can actually grow further and you can connect with more people and not just be like a business owner who only, you know, just tries to make profit, which is also important. But you know, if you're really trying to make an impact with your business, then you've accepted, you know, all the bad stuff. And this is not to say like for the people who are bad at numbers, or like me, for example, who I would say something like, oh, I'm not good with numbers, or I'm bad at math, or me figuring out my finances is not fun, then this means that I have to kind of change my own narrative around it. So this sounds like so woo-woo and like not like the usual strategy that I talk about, but I really wanted to bring this up today because after the business retreat that I had, I just realized like there's not necessarily anything wrong with you unless you're like completely arrogant and conceited and all about yourself and super selfish, which I really don't think the pineappler community is. I honestly feel like there isn't anything wrong with you, and the more that we think, okay, we're not enough, or we are ashamed, or we feel like, oh, I need to change who I am because I'm not like this person, or everybody's saying I need to do this, that's going to hurt your brand and it's going to hurt your business, only because like you're kind of putting on a mask. And the last thing we want to do, especially over on the Quirky Pineapple Studio, is for you to put on a mask and then put on the voice of someone else. Like, I don't want you to like copy somebody else's voice. I don't want you to copy somebody else's messaging or branding. And I certainly don't want you to feel like you are, you know, trying to take on somebody else's identity just because you feel like you need to. I feel like if we really sit down, do the work, and maybe some journaling prompts that you can think about are, hello Beijing Vagabond, some like journaling prompts that you can think about to owning your identity, and also like owning the parts about you that you feel ashamed or scared or not enough. These are things that I've had to like learn, because I'm like, oh, I've got like, you know, everybody shares all like the positive stuff, like, oh, I'm super organized and I can do this and I can just follow through. And there are things that I know that I just really need to work on. For example, one of the things that I know I need to work on is like my personal care. Yes, business to me is so fun. Business to me and like figuring out strategy, following through. I'm so sorry if it's a little loud, people are moving. Is fun, and I love doing it. I could sit and do business all day without moving and staying in pajamas. One thing that is really hard for me is like taking care of myself, and also setting time aside for myself, because I know I can be a workaholic. When I sat down and did a birth chart reading with Shannon in the mastermind retreat that I was just at in LA, she actually told me in my birth chart that like what really drives me is my career. And I felt like that was like a huge awakening, or like a huge eye-opener for me, because everybody's always like, oh, you don't want to be a workaholic, like why are you working so much, don't you want to spend time alone, or like don't you want to just do other things? And I always felt like this inner feeling of, no, I actually don't, because I really love working. Like, I absolutely love working. I find so much joy in it. I find so much fulfillment in it. And other people just don't have that. In my birth chart, if you believe in all that stuff with astrology and like the planets and all of that, it said that I really, really love work. And I really, really am career driven and career oriented. And some people would be like, yeah, but don't you want to like live a good life and just like make money and travel the world? And I'm like, yeah, but I would love to do that working. And I always felt like there was something wrong with me, because I felt like I was such a workaholic, and I felt like everybody else kind of was like putting a lot of expectation and pressure onto me because I was such a workaholic, and I put a lot of pressure onto myself. Even with my partner, he's mentioned a few times like, hey, don't you want to just spend time alone and like put your laptop away and like hang out us besides working so much? And I was like, yeah, but then I also don't mind if I just sit on my couch and work until like midnight or longer. So because I felt like that part of me was a problem, after that birth chart reading, I realized, okay, it's not necessarily a problem. It's just a part of me. It's like what my soul wants, my soul likes, what I'm kind of like destined to do, if you believe in that stuff. But because I know that I have other aspects of my goals, or other aspects of my business, or other aspects of my personal life that I want to take care of, then I know now I need to be like aware of these things and conscious to actually make that change, because if not, then I would honestly be working all the time, and I don't want to be technically working all the time, even though I love and crave it at the moment. So now that that like has clicked in my mind, I feel like I can take that piece and apply it to my business, because there are certain parts of my business, like when I'm telling you all, like, I really want you to use your voice, to raise your voice, to own your voice, so that you can confidently step out into who you are, and like who you are as a business owner, but who you are in like a personal life as well, and maybe even combining the two. So honestly, doing the inner work, I think is super important. Let me know if you all are following. Also, let me know if it's a little too loud in here. I don't know. It's kind of loud in my ears, but I don't know what it sounds like for you all. And let me know if you have any questions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to list out a few journaling prompts for you if you feel like you would like to journal on this stuff. And if you don't feel like you want to journal on this stuff, then I'm going to list out a few resources that you can probably check out if you are into the woo-woo. If you aren't into the woo-woo, that's totally fine too. You can always approach certain things in your own way. I've just found that connecting to more of my spiritual side has been a lot of fun, super eye-opening, and has helped me like just accept myself a lot more. And I feel like by accepting myself, I'm owning my identity to build a stronger personal brand and to build a stronger business brand, because I know who I am. I'm always discovering that, of course, but because I know who I am and like who I want to be, then it's making the Quirky Pineapple Studio so much better. Okay, if you're still watching live, let me know what you want. Do you want resources for like learning more about yourself? This could be like your birth chart or human design, or would you like some journaling prompts and I'll just read them out to you all? Let me know in the comments below. In the meanwhile, I'm just going to drink my water until somebody responds. Just hanging out. Okay, Adrian says resources. I think there are 2 people still on here, so I want to see what they say. And then, okay, Isota says resources. Awesome. Okay, so let's see. Human design. So what I want to do is, there is a book about human design, And human design, if you all don't know, is like a mix of your astrology, but also your genetic makeup, and then also like aligning your chakras and all of that stuff. It's like a huge thing, and honestly, I think getting started by yourself is going to be a bit overwhelming, to be honest, because I even had a reading and I was like mind blown. But I think if you do a little bit of research and like get started, then this is actually a really, really great resource, because if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to spew out some like vocab right now, and you might all not know, but I found out that I'm a generator, which means that I generate a lot of energy by myself, and that my strategy, my best strategy to like live out my fullest life is to wait to respond, which totally makes sense, and I can share more about this later on. I'm going to share about this in the Use Your Voice Mastermind. Adrian, I am going to share about this. I think you'll love it. And we're actually having a human design expert come in to give us a little bit more background on human design. But there's this one book that my mastermind sister recommended, and I think it's called... Where is it? I'm looking it up. Okay, this one is called Understanding Human Design, The New Science of Astrology, Discover Who You Really Are. And it is by Karen Curry. I'm going to show you all, I'm just on Amazon right now, so I'm just going to show you what it looks like. Okay, this is the book, Understanding Human Design, The New Science of Astrology, Discover Who You Really Are, by Karen Curry. You can buy it on Kindle for $19.57, or you can get it on paperback for $15.20. And I actually, my mastermind sister Randy, who was just on, she shared about this book with me, and it actually broke down a lot of information like about the specific types of identities within human design, and then also breaking it down even further. And it's like easy to understand. I think you have to read through it a few times if you're new to this, but I honestly recommend this book, and she actually really recommended it to me. And Randy is actually like a super expert in human design, and she does it within her coaching practice. So that's one of the resources I would recommend. And then, let's see. The other one is, if you can do this, go and do a birth chart reading. The person who did mine, and she was on the retreat, she was actually the retreat manager. Her name is Shannon Tarouk, and she is a spiritual coach. If you follow her on TikTok, you just look her up, Shannon Tarouk. She's hilarious on TikTok. But also, I think she has a lot of different resources on like understanding more about your birth chart, and not just like, you know, your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising. She actually went into all of it. She went into my first and second nodes, if you all are familiar with that. She broke down what it means for me to be a communicator. She broke down what relationships mean to me, which like had this huge thing, because it's not just like a personal level, but like also on a business level, like how I view relationships. So let me just show you her Instagram. Where's the little thing? Oh, here it is. Okay, so this is Shannon. Follow her here, Shannon Tarouk. She's a spiritual coach and content creator. She talks about manifestation, spirituality, confidence tips, and she has her own podcast, Cafe Confidence. And this is her stuff. She's really funny. Her TikToks are great. I mean, I'm telling you. I would honestly recommend doing a little bit more research. See if you can get a birth chart reading if you feel comfortable or want to. That was a huge thing. And then another thing that I learned was just tuning into my intuition more. I don't know if there's like a specific resource about that, but one of my mastermind sisters, Lisa, is an intuitive healing coach, and she actually shared about tapping into your intuition a lot more, and like understanding like to really just like follow your gut, which is kind of like what your intuition is. So I don't know if there are specific resources for that, because she didn't really share with us, and I don't know how you can read about resources about your intuition, because that's something that you just have to like tap into. But actually in the masterclass yesterday with Susan, who is an intuitive personal stylist in the Use Your Voice Mastermind, we just talked about like really feeling into that like initial feeling that you have. And something that I learned during the not the Use Your Voice Mastermind, the Aligned Action Mastermind retreat that I was just in, is that usually, hello, Mika, hello Mika, Micah, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Something that is super interesting about your intuition is, first, like the first initial feeling that you get about any situation is probably your intuition and your gut. Then what happens is in like the 2 to 5 seconds right after that initial feeling, you get like fear rushing in, which is somebody telling you, or like the little voice inside your head saying things like, oh, don't do this, or maybe tomorrow, or I'm not sure if this is a good idea. But what you want to do is you want to like really start listening to your gut and listening to your intuition to understand, okay, this is like what I really want, or this is like a good idea, or this is a bad idea, and then like acting on it immediately, besides like waiting the 2 to 5 seconds, which is then fear and your ego stepping in to basically talk you out of whatever you're about to do. This could go honestly into your business, like, oh, you want to post an Instagram post, but then you get scared. Or maybe you want to offer your services or your product to somebody, but then you get scared. Or something like along those lines. That is kind of like what your intuition is all about. So honestly, what Lisa told me during the retreat was to just sit with yourself, and then kind of hone into that gut feeling, and whatever is the first initial reaction that you have is your intuition telling you yay or nay, and then the 2 to 5 seconds right after is your ego and your fear telling you, nah dude, back the fuck off. So those are the 3 resources I think I would recommend for owning your identity, for branding. The first one was that book about human design by Karen Curry, I believe. The second one is checking out Shannon Tarouk, who was the event manager for the retreat that I was just at, and seeing if you can just find some free resources from her about birth chart reading. She did my birth chart reading, and that was super helpful. And then the third one is to honestly just sit with yourself and listen to your gut and listen to your intuition, and like go with that initial feeling and not the 2 to 5 seconds afterwards. I think that will help you just own your identity, own who you are as a person, to then make your brand so much stronger. Does anybody have any questions on that? Those are like the 3 resources that I can share so far. You can find, some of them are free, of course. You can buy the books on Amazon if you want to. Totally up to you. Hi Monica, if you're still here. Does anybody else have any questions about owning your identity for branding, or questions about the resources I share, or anything like that? I will sit and wait and just drink my chai tea latte. Hello. Also, if you don't know, Unsocially Inclined is Monica. She was also on the retreat. Another mastermind sister. I consider her my introverted other half. She's also a copywriter and content strategist, or marketing strategist. What if I'm in transition with my brand identity? And then Mika says, my human design is a man gen, and it's hard because I will always wait to decide something. Ah, so good. Okay, so Monica, let me answer your question first. Okay, what if I'm in transition with my brand identity? So this one is kind of hard because I think we had this conversation where like we're both in like this interesting transition. And actually what I would do is, only because I know you, and we talked about this during the retreat and like during the hot seat sessions, but anything that is like feeling like resistance for the brand identity, I think I would write it down and then figure out what you feel resistance towards, and then kind of figure out why you feel resistance towards that. And then from there decide, okay, which way do you want to go with your brand identity? Because I only know this because we had conversations about it. And most of the time, I think when we are working on our story and we're working on like what connects with our ideal clients, most of the time we hang on to like the old story, right? Like we hang on to the old version of who we are, and if we want to up level in our business and we want to up level in our brand, we have to let go of that old story and step into the new one. Slightly terrifying because, you know, you're kind of not letting go of an old identity, but you're letting go of one that like doesn't make sense for you anymore and won't serve you anymore, and then it also won't serve your clients. So maybe make a list of like what you are resistant towards, and then what you are resistant towards, and then why you feel resistance, and then see where you are in like your specific story and where you want to go, and then kind of figure out like how you, I don't want to say like how you make that transition, but maybe figure out what part of your story you want to like step into and what that will do for you and your clients. I hope that helps. Mika says, my human design is a man gen, and it's hard because I will always wait to decide something and confuses me about my intuition. Okay, so I don't really know too much about human design, and I am not an expert, so I honestly say go and check out those resources that I shared about, and then if you want, go check out Island Randy. She was here in the beginning. I don't know if Randy's still listening, but she is one of the other mastermind sisters, and you can check her out at Island_Randy, RANDI. And I know that she's going to be sharing a lot more information about human design on her podcast, which actually Monica was just part of. And then if you actually, what I've been doing is I've just been like Googling and finding a lot of different blog posts to learn more about human design. I don't know how to necessarily approach it just because I am a generator and I'm not a manifesting generator. My one thing though is that for generators, we definitely have to wait to decide something. Specifically, she told me generators are people who have to ask themselves specific questions like yes or no to listen to our gut. And most of the time we need to wait to make a decision. For me specifically, I know that I need to like, if I feel like I want to do something, I need to be like, oh, okay, do I want to do this? And I say, then I go forward. If I feel like, then I'm like, nah, dude. So that's just something for me. I feel like it would be a little bit different for a manifesting generator, but honestly, check out the resources. She said like that book is really one of the best, and I flipped through it a little bit during the retreat, and I think that was super helpful. So I hope that answers your question. I'm just not a human design expert, so I can't necessarily like give out advice on what to do for that. Sorry. Okay. Isolda says, I think that I have a clear idea about who I am and how my brand reflects itself, but as I need as much as work as possible right now, sometimes I accept to modify a little bit my profile to get the job. So actually, Isolda, something that I would do specifically is not just about who you are and how your brand reflects who you are. What I would do is write down your core values. So this is maybe like 3 to 6 core values that are like super, super non-negotiables, things that like you will absolutely not like change yourself for, and that will help you figure out what is the right job and what is like the totally not right job, because you you don't want to work with somebody who doesn't share the same values as you, because then it'll just kind of get you in trouble, which has happened to me before, where I kind of didn't listen into my intuition. I also didn't really have my core values set up, or I was like, okay, but they're kind of like this, and then it ended up being that people didn't pay me, and then somebody actually still owes me, I think she owes me like $600, like a past client, and then one client just like completely stopped responding to me, and she owed me about $1,200. So the fact that I set out my core values in the beginning with my brand, you can do it on a personal level, on a branding level, I think has like helped me a lot with deciding, okay, I want to work with this person, I don't want to work with this person. And honestly, I think even if you have to get work all the time, remember, like, just because you say no to an opportunity and you like lose out on that money, that means that you are opening the door for other opportunities to come in that will probably be more aligned with what you want. Hope that makes sense. Monica says, yes, hanging on. Great point. I'm a kitten on a branch, LOL, thank you. I'll do this before our session. Yay, awesome, so excited for our next session. Isolda says, but maybe I should and just be patient and don't pursue jobs that don't match me completely. Yes, honestly, I think writing down your core values will help a lot to decide like, okay, this is what I want to do, this is what I don't want to do, all of that stuff. Hello, Valeria. Hi, Newsy. Understood. You're completely right. Thank you. Awesome. Okay, does anybody else have any other questions, or if you all have specific resources that you want to share with whomever's watching, let us know in the comments below. Other than that, I think I will hop off for now. I hope the sound was okay and that you all could hear me okay. It's not too loud. It honestly sounds so loud in my ears right now, but I'm not totally sure. Is it loud? Okay, well, my sister doesn't know if it's actually loud. Okay, not sure if anybody else has anything, other comments or all of that good stuff, but sound is good. Cool. Thanks, Yuzi. That is TQP Studio intern number 1. Thanks for commenting. TQP Studio intern number 2 is sitting across from me. Thanks. All right, pineapplers, I am going to hop off. Thanks for being patient while I traveled and basically got my whole schedule messed up, and for just allowing me to rest, because I thought I could do a Wine Wednesday on Wednesday when I traveled from LA to the East Coast, and then I realized, heck no, I am dead tired. So thank you for tuning in on a Friday. I know it is late in Madrid, so for anybody who's tuning in over on that side of the world, thank you so much. And I will see you all legit next Wednesday though for another Wine Wednesday episode. Let me know if you want me to cover anything specific. You can send me a DM, or I'll just choose the topic myself. All right. Oh yes, also, if you are in the Washington, D.C. area and want to join us tomorrow for the Own Your Voice event, it is free. It's happening right here in Kobu's Commons, where I am right now. And it is happening from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We'll be talking about your fierce factor, visibility strategies, and then also having a chance to network and connect with other people in the DMV area. And if you're not, then tune in to stories tomorrow as we document the entire thing. Okay, everyone, thank you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.